The caller is in the house. The calls are coming from the house. I'm John Renton with the Retro Review of Black Christmas, the 1974 original, directed by Bob Clark, who directed Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, Porky's, and A Christmas Story. Yes, the same guy that directed one of the most influential slasher movies of all time, still one of the greatest slasher movies of all time, directed A Christmas Story, which in some ways is actually more horrifying than this because I think it's really over fucking hyped. I look forward to hate in the comments, but that's just my opinion. Do you guys think A Christmas Story is overhyped? Answers in the comments, please. This one, you can tell directors like John Carpenter and other directors of slasher movies later on took inspiration. Halloween would probably be the closest to this. I still say Halloween's a little bit better than this, but you could tell there was a lot of influence from this that carried over to Halloween. Stuff from the killer's perspective, the stripped down feel, people being targeted for, maybe just a simple reason that the killer wants to kill, and just the tension and the music and really good stuff, and it just was really, really fucking good. This is really, really good. It still holds up. It's almost 50 years old, and it still holds up. Now there's dated stuff, the styles, the fashions, the hairstyles, the fact that the idea behind it of a killer in a house like this wouldn't really work right now because there would be easier ways to trace the goddamn thing. But back in 1974, you couldn't do that stuff. You actually had to have the police put a tap on your phone to trace it, and it took a while because the technology still needed to catch up. But what's great about this movie is, one, the cast. Olivia Hussey, God, you filthy hussy. Sorry, I had to say that joke. She fucking goddamn gorgeous in this movie, and I'm sure still looks great even now. I know she's almost 70, but still, some people age great. She was great in this as the main girl, and she had a boyfriend, Peter, who they're kind of at odds for a few reasons. Margot Kidder also, I think, was a star of the movie, even though she didn't quite make it through the whole thing, because she's just, in your face. She's a drunk. She's just like, she's a foul-mouthed bitch, but she's really goddamn good in this. And there's a few other girls, a few other sorority girls in this, but they don't make it very long either. And the plot of the movie is there's some sorority girls. They got their house mother. They got a few others. You got a few other people that come in and out like boyfriends. But they're being besieged by phone calls from somebody very, very creepy that's saying stuff like, you fat, you filthy C. It's like talking about sexual acts and all this stuff. And the call ends, the first call that we get to hear ends, I'm going to kill you. And just before that, we see somebody that is sneaking, first-person camera stuff, that's sneaking up into a window into the attic, into the house, and then they sneak into the attic a little bit later. What the fuck's going on? Who is this person? Is it one of the boyfriends? Is it one of the sorority sisters? Even though the hands are very manly, I mean, whatever. Maybe they use body doubles. Who the fuck knows? In this, though, the girls just blow off that stuff, especially Barb. She's like, fuck it, it's not anybody. And it turns out to actually be somebody, even though we don't find out the exact name. It has to happen a little bit. It happens, with more research. Billy Lenz was the name that they came up with. And somebody that has had clearly a lot of fucked up shit happen and is making these obscene phone calls and doing these killings and everything. And one of the killings happens pretty early on. This girl, Claire, she's killed because she's looking in the closet. What the hell's going on? And there's a plastic covering, for coats. Well, that gets thrown over her, and she gets just, freaking suffocated. And then Billy starts keeping these bodies up in the attic and also killing bodies in various stages and just leaving them contorted and just slaughtered because, he's just a fucked up guy that just wants to kill people for whatever fucking reason. And not knowing the motives is a whole lot scarier. So, as girls blow this stuff up, even though people start getting killed, they're like, oh, okay, it's fine. We're not seeing our friends. A day or two goes by, we still don't see our friend, but we're not going to go check anything else. We're not going to go check upstairs. We're not going to go check the attic, except the house mother checks the attic a little bit later and then gets a hook thrown at her and gets, hung up, which actually was a really cool scene as well. But the funniest thing about this movie, not a lot of kills happen on camera. There's a few. But for a slasher, for something like the body count is shockingly low, yet the tension is really high. And as things get a little more skin crawling, and I admit this thing is a little cheesy looking back on it, but it still holds up tension-wise for the most part to this day. Now, will it hold up in 20 years? Who the fuck knows? Bob Clark, though, finds a way to keep the tension rolling, and focus just on a few central characters and it works. Jess and Peter are at odds because it turns out that Jess is pregnant. She doesn't want to keep it. Peter does. And despite having curtains for hair, feels that he would be the best father for the kid. The hairstyle aside, the hair did look ridiculous, though. But she doesn't want to keep it. And that's kind of, something that they're a little bit at odds about. Now, more phone calls later, the killer, the person on the phone is like saying, mentioning names like Billy and Agnes and like, oh, you can't, don't get rid of the baby. You can't kill the baby. Please don't kill the baby. And then you also get a phone call from Peter a little bit later saying you can't kill the baby. And it's not the same voice, but you're thinking, okay, wait a second. If the killer's saying the same stuff, then it's obviously got to be Peter. And that's kind of where they go with it. And for a while, the police eventually put a tap on the phone. And they got to keep them on longer to make sure that they catch the thing. They catch where the phone call is coming from. Because, again, no tracing technology. 1974, after all. The funniest thing, there are little hints dropped by Peter that maybe he is the killer. Stuff like he's sleeping upstairs suddenly. Even though she didn't seem to know that he was there. Oh, she's fine. Claire is fine. Well, how would he know Claire is fine? How would he know that? Was he in on it? Were there two killers? There could have been two killers. That's entirely possible because it would make sense for how a few kills happened. And the police, after setting up the tap on the phone, the question ultimately is, why won't the girls leave the goddamn house? Because it's obvious there's something creepy going on here. They could go stay with family or go stay somewhere. They could ask the police to put them up somewhere. Whatever. It's the fact they don't leave that just kind of makes me think like, well, you guys are fucking idiots. What the fuck's going on? Barb, after having a bit of a vivid dream, has fallen asleep one night and gets killed by a glass figurine. Gets stabbed by like a unicorn horn. That was actually a pretty cool thing. Very strong glass figurine, by the way, to go into human flesh, not break off. And there are carolers outside the house that Jess is like listening to. Oh, I probably shouldn't leave my friend alone since there's clearly a killer, but hey, I'll listen to you sing la 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 la. Jess gets a creepy call, and then her and Phil, who's another sorority sister, one of the only ones left. I think the only one left. There are not a lot of sorority sisters in this house. Well, it couldn't have been Peter, but then he calls her. Oh, you can't kill the baby, and the police keep searching. Jess gets another call. Where's the baby? You left the baby with Agnes. Who the fuck is Agnes? What the hell's going on? I actually used to have a neighbor named Agnes. She was a very nice old lady. She also looked like a weathered, dried up old prune by the end of it, but she was really nice. Man, I'm fucking mean. And naturally, Jess is told to do, or she does the opposite of what she's told to do, because the police realize, holy shit, this person at the phone company says, hey, the calls are, the callers in the house. The calls are coming from the house. The calls are coming from inside the house. When a stranger calls, all that. So she does not leave like the police officer told her. She tries to go get her friends, who have not made a noise in who knows how long. And instead, she takes a fire poker and goes upstairs. Takes forever. She eventually sees her friends, Barb and Phil, are dead, tangled up with each other. And she sees the killer. She bashes the door to, break free. She wants to break free. She gets locked in the basement. Eventually, Peter finds her. And then, why didn't you answer me? What the hell's going on? Well, then the police arrive a number of minutes later, even though they said it was 5 minutes. It seemed to take about 5 years. And Peter is dead, and Jess is all, oh, what's going on? Then the police take care of her. Jess is out. One police officer says he's going to stay with her. They don't, because they're clearing the press and the bodies out. And she's just left sleeping in the same house where all these murders happened. Take her out of the house and take her somewhere. I don't understand what the fuck that's about. And the killer is still there. Or is he? Maybe he is. And phone rings and the credits roll. But there is somebody up in the attic. Why didn't you check the attic? Don't look in the basement. That was actually a pretty good horror movie. Very cheap, though. But this one, yes, cliches and everything aside, still holds up to this day. I really enjoy Black Christmas 1974. Remake, and the 2019 version can get in the fucking bin. One of the worst movies I've seen in a while. Anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.